So you were mentioning you were looking at some rock climbing gyms, and
Well, there's no
is that something?
gyms, but
Okay.
there's actual rock climbing walls around relatively within like 2.5 hour drive. I'm trying to find
Yeah.
something a bit closer so I could actually potentially go after work sometime, or I don't
Yeah.
know. Otherwise, it's going to be have to be like a weekend kind of thing, which would be fun, but I want to have something a bit
Yeah.
more regular than that.
Definitely. Yeah. You got to come down back my way. Heaps of rock
Yeah,
climbing gyms.
yeah,
And outdoor parks as well. Spend some time there.
yeah. I think that I'm gonna get a good slack line at the moment, and I'll concentrate on that, and eventually
Yep.
want to set up some high lines between trees and stuff like that. But we'll see.
Yes, you're getting me excited. I've always wanted to do some high lines,
Yeah,
but I've never been ballsy enough. And then also like I solo, like I go by a lot of people I know don't really want to
yeah,
come out with me in slackline. So maybe I'm just hanging
yeah.
out in the wrong
Same.
crowd.
So, yeah, yeah, man. Come, we'll slack that. It's gonna be sick.
Yeah, we should do. I've been. Have you ever been to the Yangs up towards sort of like the north other side of the city?
Yeah, I've been there. I can't remember what I was really doing there, but I haven't done anything adventurous there. I don't think so. Yeah,
Yeah,
no, that'd be sick.
uh, yeah. I've been there once, and there was like we did an outdoor rock climbing. They've got sort of cliffs at the top of the side cliff.
Oh, yeah,
It's
yep,
not.
yep.
It's not a huge cliff, but it's sort of like goes from beginner to intermediate.
Oh,
Um,
sick.
yeah, so I'm thinking because you know how to lay the lines and whatnot.
Yep.
I'm sort of like a bit clueless on that, but I reckon we go check that out.
Yeah, man, that'd be sick.
Yeah, yeah.
Yep.
Suss that one out. It'd be fun.
At the moment, I've only got obviously tree climbing, ropes and harness. So I'll want to get at least a rock climbing rope and probably a rock climbing harness as well. I want to get kitted out with all that, and then yeah, should be sick.
I'm gonna have to
Yeah.
say this again. Did we just become best friends?
Yep.
Yep. I'm the same, dude. I want to get all the rock climbing gear when you do come down, we spend some time at our rock climbing gym. They've got
Yep.
like an overhang where it's sort of lead climbing, and you get your
Oh,
ticket. And you
sick.
sort of
Yep.
it's unreal. Like I've always looked at it, and I'm like, why don't I get my ticket and learn that
All right.
stuff?
Next time that gym is doing its thing, ring me up
Yep.
and we'll both go get our tickets, and then we'll both go head up and do all the things.
Yes, yes, yes. We do. I think you have to. Their grading system's a little bit different to all the other ones. So it's like 1 to
Okay.
6 instead of, I think they've got like 18, 19, 20
Yeah.
like
Yep.
difficulty. So I think you have to get I think it's a 4 level,
Yep.
which I reckon both of us would be able to do.
Yep.
And once you get past that, they sort of grade you, and then you get your ticket. Learn how to
Sick.
tie the rope, and you're good.
So do you know what a 4 equates to in the normal? Probably like a 1922 or something. I don't know.
Yeah, yeah, I'm not
Yep.
too sure with the rating system, but I'd say for me anyways, like I go rock climbing probably once, twice a month into rock climbing,
Yep.
and I'm not that great, but I can move all right and hang all right,
Yep.
and so my limit's probably around about about a 5 and a 6, pretty sure. Yeah,
Yep.
and it
Okay,
goes.
cool.
Yeah, I think it goes higher as well. Yeah, so
Yep. Yeah. I do rock climbing very, very sporadically. Maybe like last time I did it was when I was still in Melbourne, and time before that, it's like once a year thing. But every time I
right,
go, I love it. But
yeah,
just yeah, I wanna actually delve in. But yeah, should be sick.
yeah,
Because there's
yeah.
so many good climbs fairly close to where I'm at. Like Arapalis is about a 2 hour drive. Grampians is
Yeah.
2.5, and they've got really, really nice climbs.
Yeah.
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 And I like the idea of climbing outdoors on actual rock, but yeah, it just feels better.
Yeah. Yeah. It's not color coded.
Yeah,
It
yeah,
gets you to think a little bit more
yeah, yeah,
and really feel it, which is cool.
yeah.
Yeah.
No.
Sweet.
Well, that'll be sick.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah,
Let's
man.
hit it.
Yeah, let me know. Yep.
Yeah. I'm actually going tomorrow night with a mate
Oh, sick.
because we got the Spartan race coming up, and a lot of it's a bit of grip strength as well. So
Yep.
me and him are just going to train on that for a little bit, and on the weekend Spartan race.
This weekend or next weekend? Yeah, next weekend.
Yeah, the weekend. Yeah, next weekend.
Yeah.
So that's
Nice.
up in Bright, which is it's beautiful.
Oh,
landscape,
Bright's beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing.
That's a
So
perfect
looking
spot for
forward
it.
to Yeah, yeah.
Mm.
And it gets because they did the same one same time last year.
Yeah.
And first time I've been there, it was just amazing, and just the people in general, just the atmosphere.
Yeah,
It's great.
it's a sick spot. It's a good little adventure town. That's where I did my paragliding. And it's such a nice spot.
Yeah,
How long?
paragliding.
Yeah.
Yeah, nuts.
Yeah, it's good. Yeah, it was good fun. It was like a 2-day course, and by the end of it, we got to do it ourselves. But going back now, if I wanted to do paragliding, I'd need to do something more to refresh. But yeah, apparently we've got our ticket, but
you wouldn't go out and set it up. No.
But yeah, how long's the Spartan race course?
So they've got 5 events. They've got the on the Friday, I think they're doing the 4-hour workout. I mean, that's not for me. And it's just I think it's just like strength training. So a lot of like Atlas balls and farmer walks and all that kind of stuff.
Okay.
Body weight exercise. And then on the Saturday, they've got I think it's the 5K and the 14.
Yep.
So they call that the 5K is the sprint, the 14 is called the super.
Yep.
And then on the Sunday they've got the beast, which is 21K, and then the ultra beast, which is 42K.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, nice. Which one? What are you doing?
I'm doing so they've got the trifecta. So that means like the medals come in sort of in thirds. And then if you do all 3, it makes one big medal.
Oh, that's pretty sick.
Yeah. So I've never done it before. I'm just like, I was actually just going to do the 14K, but then another mate that's coming along, he needs to do the trifecta. He's like, why don't you just go all 3? I'm like, okay, all right. So how we're doing it.
All right, mate. All right.
Going all in. It's so good because the guy that I've invited is like a 60-year-old concreter, and it's like he's tough as nuts, and I'm like, I can't, I've got to join the party. So, I'm pretty stoked with that. And then, so that's pretty much that weekend.
That should be sick.
Yeah.
And you've been doing a fair bit of training for that, haven't you? Going for a fair few runs and.
Yeah, not really.
No.
I was talking to my partner last night about it. I was like, I'm not training to win, like as an athlete.
No.
Like I'm not competing for a prize. And so, and if I was, I'd be training, and then that'd take up a lot of time during the week and time away from, I guess, the relationship and spending time with friends and family. And so for me, it's like I train enough, so then when I get there, I'm still going through the suffering and the journey and the process, as opposed to if I did train a lot, I'd be super fit, but then I'd be competing and I'd push myself even further than I would normally and then come back sort of, depleted. So, and then I'd probably look back going, I spent all that time for what kind of thing? And for me, it's really just connecting with a lot of the people there and just having fun and going back into nature. So that's essentially why I do it. And trying to bring people, because it's sort of like, I feel it's like a rite of passage where we go into gyms and we train and we do all this sort of like focusing on the muscles, but then we lose sight of getting back connecting into nature, and sort of I find obstacle course racing, especially Spartan race, really tapping into that and getting people more engaged and actually being part of this whole community thing. Like there's a documentary I want to watch that I haven't seen called Sufferfest, where it's like people that have, you know, mundane lives and they go to the office and the worst injury they'll get is a paper cut. And but then they've got this obstacle course racing where they go out on a weekend, become that weekend warrior, and they come back and they go, dude, this is nuts, you know? And it's the whole like training process. So I find like, you know, this is me sort of criticizing, but people go to the gyms and they want to have this 30-day challenge or 90-day challenge, and they lose that weight and they go through, you know, the transformation part, but then it sort of stops. And then, or they jump on another program where I find, you know, doing these races, it really just, you see everyone just sort of like as a totality, as opposed to as an individual. You do get ones that go and are that athlete and they go for that prize, which is fine. But I've had the privilege to do both, go ahead and then also stay back and be able to see the people that sort of, you know, you can support and you can sort of work as a team together and still get to the finish line, which I think is beautiful.
Definitely that vibe at those events where everyone is just in it together, and it is that community kind of sufferfest. It's that thing where this is gonna suck, but it's gonna be awesome. It's gonna be an awesome suck.
I think we need more of it. Like like if you go back into sort of ancestrally, like hunter and gathering, we don't do that anymore. So where does it come from? That sort of nutrient, that ecology of being one with nature. I know this is sort of still, a modern day of doing it, but at least it's kind of somewhat bringing people back into the rewilding sort of thing. And then it's sort of like an entry point.
I don't think it even necessarily has to be in nature. I reckon it's more about that natural feeling of just suffering and pushing through and being rewarded for your suffering, like being rewarded for that effort that's just beyond the norm.
Yeah.
And like, it obviously helps when it's in nature. It takes your mind off it. It makes it a lot more pleasant. So the suffering is like a little bit better.
I totally agree, man.
It's definitely important to do. I remember when I was in Melbourne doing a bit of parkour, we'd have this night, probably improperly named, called Rape Night, where we'd just, it was just a night where we would just get destroyed, like just strength and conditioning and just challenging ourselves. And it was amazing. You would just go and go and go and go and go and go until you physically couldn't. And then you would just crawl your way home. But it was such a good night. I'd only go every so often when I really was like, all right, it's time. We need to do this. But it's such a good thing to do, is just be willing to completely break yourself down and see what comes out.
Yeah. Totally.
I think that is missing in a lot of people's lives today. Because it's easier that way. It's easy to not do it because it hurts. And discomfort is uncomfortable, and no one likes uncomfort. But, well, that's not true. Some people really like discomfort, but they know what's on the other side. Yeah.
Well, it reminded me of there's a clip of the trailer of Sufferfest where they do the extreme kilometers out in the sort of like 24-hour sort of, you know, Tough Mudders or obstacle course races, and they just keep doing laps.
We got invited to that.
Yeah.
I did Tough Mudder originally with two of my parkour mates, and we did well. I think we got invited because we finished in the top 5% of the world in terms of time, and then we got invited to do that, the worlds, and that was that 24-hour race. And we were like, nah.
Yeah.
This is like, whoever's going to that is truly crazy.
It's nuts, yeah.
Utmost respect for those who are like, nah, it's beyond us. Yeah.
It is. I know a girl a lady that ran that, Diana
really?
Blake.
Yeah.
Yeah, so she's like one of the top athletes. Like back when I was running, and I'd always see her on the course, and I'd be running next to her, and so like, oh, there's Diana Blake. Like, and she's I think she won the women's heat, so like the 24-hour tough mudder in the world. So she's unreal. But what they go through, man, it's all mental. A lot of it's mental.
Yeah. Yeah, that would be hectic. Like, us as a team, our main issue was the actual running. Obviously, the obstacles were no issue because of parkour. But even at like the 17K mark, my calves were just like, gonna have to pack it in, mate.
Yeah.
I was hobbling towards the 21. And I knew like 24 hours of running is not going to be good.
It's brutal, yeah. Yeah.
How much did you train? Like, how many laps did you get, do you know?
I think she did 6 laps, 6 or 7.
Oh, yeah. Fuck.
I think you can rest and break and have breaks and whatnot, but yeah.
That's hectic.
Yeah. That's pretty intense.
Yeah.
I had a friend that I met on a plane, and he did it. Like he was one of the guys that sort of started sort of like in the Spartan. When Spartan race started, he was sort of one of the guys that was designing the courses and obstacles. And he did I think Spartan race they call it the death race, where they don't tell you where it ends. So you're out in the forest and doing all these obstacles, and you're chopping wood and you're doing all these things, and sort of it just doesn't end, and they don't tell you when it's going to end. So you're thinking you're going crazy and what's going on. And you mentioned something like that, and he's like, I'd never do it again. It's like,
oh, really?
It pretty much just broke him. So, you know, so.
Well, not having a finish line would be the hardest thing. At least if you know what you're going to.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's epic. That's pretty sick, actually.
Oh, I've seen clips. I just go, because that's the thing. You need a destination or something to look forward to, but they just left it in lurch.
Yeah, that's cool, but very cruel as well.
Bit of both. That's a good way to put it.
So, I've got a couple of questions for you.
Yeah, let's do it. Fire away.
First of all, for the people watching on my end who don't know much about you, how did you get started in the kind of movement health kind of scene? And how did you get involved in it first?
Yep. You're gonna find this hilarious, but I got into Men's Health magazines. This was this was back in the day. So my movement background comes from, I guess, primary school to high school was playing on the monkey bars and playing tiggy and tag and whatnot, and then it evolved into playing basketball, and then I picked up a skateboard when I was 15, and then through that skated for 8 to 10 years, and my goal was to be a professional skateboarder, and that was my career. So I'd eat just skateboarding morning, nights, weekends, and just do that. That was my full-time gig. And then from that point, I end up losing the love of it as I sort of, got into my 20s and took a carpentry apprenticeship.
Yeah.
The whole transition of, if you're injured and you can't work, then you don't get paid. And then sort of that cycle in your head, sort of like, what's a real true career path for me? So I sort of, made that decision, and I sort of started losing sort of some of the tricks and the skill sets that I learned from skateboarding. And then the fear started to creep in. So I was like jumping downstairs, and handrails back in the day was, I'd eat that for breakfast. But now it's, looking at a set of stairs, like 10, 12 stairs, you're like, whoa, like if I roll an ankle, that's me done for the whole 2 weeks of work. So, so changed into that. And then eventually, I started doing carpentry, finished my carpentry apprenticeship. But in between then, I started taking up martial arts and then going to the gyms and training a bit of bodybuilding as well.
Yep.
That's the, I guess, the entry point for a lot of men is going to the gym and start doing powerlifting and bodybuilding, like the two sort of things that really destroys the body. And it's just one sort of system. We don't there's no that back then for me there was no parkour, gymnastics. There was, but not I didn't know any of it.
Yeah.
And so had I have known that, I probably would have done a bit more of that and back then. But then and then from there I just went. Last 4 years I made a decision that I really wanted to pursue movement in the sense of being posture and alignment, and then understanding how the body moves a little bit better. And so I made the decision to seek out the movement teachers around the world and go, okay, so who do I want to follow? Who do I want to learn from? Yeah. And so I started that journey and started to invest myself into workshops and absorb as much as I can and be able to practice that. So that's sort of my movement journey, and still continuing. And it's just something I want to be able to share to, I guess, people in the building industry.
Yeah, because we originally met at one of those workshops that you're talking about, at Simon the Cool's workshop, I think it was. So
from Ancestral Movement.
Yeah. So how far in? What other kind of workshops had you done before that? Like, so Ancestral Movement is basic concept of his kind of philosophy. I know you've also done MoveNat, which is fairly close to.
Yeah.
When did you do that?
So I did we'll take it back. So going from, I guess, training in the gyms and exploring different types of disciplines like martial arts, did the rock climb. I never went too far into one sort of sport or one sort of field. I sort of buffeted, I sampled, I played a bit with CrossFit to martial arts to just all these different things. And I was just like, I just really love to move. And then that Edo Portal clip came out. And as soon as I saw that, I'm like, oh my Lord, like, what is this? This is unreal. And I'm like, it just inspired me to go, okay, so now I want to take it a little bit further. And so I started researching, and then there was MoveNat also popped up. So I just Googled it, and then I saw that they were doing a workshop in Brisbane, booked my ticket, headed over there. Did the first day, and I thought it was really dry. Like, they're really sort of doing the nuts and bolts and the mechanics of ground movements to, standing, running, squatting. And I was just like, this is very dry. But then the second day, we were able to, first day learn the words, and then the second day create sentences with the movements that we were doing. So then my eyes opened up, brain was just on a high. And then I eventually did their Cert 1 or Level 1 and then Level 2 certification a couple of years later. And then from there, just started to then see what was yes, missing, or what can I complement to add to that movement system? Because I feel like there is no one system that has all the answers.
Yeah, definitely.
And I think it's more of a collective, and really, like the Bruce Lee approach is research your own experience, absorb what is useful, reject what is useless, add what is essentially your own. And so I've been able to do, say, MoveNat. I did an Edo Portal workshop. I went to the States and did the Evolve Move Play workshop, the 7-day retreat we did over there. And then I did, the Fighting Monkey, which now I'm sort of, I'm really sort of exploring. And it's messing up my brain because there's a lot of coordination rhythm drills that you never get taught, or you go straight into the strength training just to build the body. But then, at the core foundation, there's coordination, there's rhythm that we just totally forget. And sort of as soon as you get into that, it's sort of like reconnecting the whole system as one, and left, right, sort of, and then getting to the beat. So that's something that I'm looking at the moment and sort of investigating a little bit further. But I think for me, it's more of, there's just so much to do, and there's so much to learn and enjoy. And I think if all I did was just say, for example, skateboarding, and then that would, I mean, that'd be a great life, like to be a skateboarder, travel. Yeah, I mean, there's obviously professionals and they love it and that's all they want to do, and that's fine. But I think I've I get excited, I pursue it, and then I go, okay, so then I jump onto the next thing and I go, okay, that's good. And just like with, I guess specialization, you end up creating your own sort of patterns that becomes your dis-ease. And so I've tried to pull in from different areas to try and round myself out and become more of a generalist, as Zito Portal talks about. And so then later on, I've got sort of like, I guess, better understanding of, and empathy as well. So someone who's a skateboarder or a bodybuilder or a dancer or a CrossFitter or whatever sort of discipline they have, I can sort of relate and go, and then, that's something that I can empathize with. And it's just broaden out my skill sets.
And and there's little gems in each of those disciplines that will transfer to the other disciplines. So the more of those kind of stuff you do, like the mindset of bodybuilding, or just the feeling of having that kind of pump and pushing through, it transfers a lot to climbing in some ways, of the physical feeling, and just even getting over the fear of when you're skating, like, and trying to learn a new trick. That's invaluable. I definitely think it's a great way to do it. I like how you said the buffet, where you're just
100%. 100%. Well, the thing is like, when you finish high school, it's like, what do you want to be, Kyle? What do you want to be? And you're like, I don't know. So take time off and go and explore, go and do that for a bit, that for a bit, that for a bit, and say yes to everything. And just, the saying goes, learn in your 20s, earn in your 30s. And that's sort of what I've done. I've just gone, I've done odd jobs here and there, and I've taken on different things, and I just go, okay, so I like that, don't like that. And this is I guess this is the philosophy of life, is you essentially are creating your own religion. You're not necessarily following a book that tells you in detail how you have to live your life. It's like you read many books and you have many experiences, and then you create your own truth. And I think people that say, this is the way you should eat, this is the way you should train, this is the way you should live your life, it's like essentially you're no longer living your life, so you're living it for someone else. And I think that's where people get stuck in this sort of this trap of, I've got to live this certain way to please certain people. And so we create this status signaling where that's more important than actually being authentic and actually wanting to be, say, I want to be a dancer, I want to do that. Like that's what you should essentially be doing, because in a way that's what you're drawn to. And it's sort of, if you're finding meaning behind that. And I think if you can pursue meaning over money or passion over profits, that's you're gonna really, as they say, be successful. But I think success is more of a, it's not a destination, it's a continuum. So you're not it's a goal you got to reach at, but it's not something that you get there and all of a sudden there's emptiness, because we hit that, say, that money goal or the relationship goal, and we think that that's the end goal, but there's more to it. And that's why I always relate it back to Spartan races or obstacle course racing, because every obstacle you face, whether you've done it before or haven't done it before, it's always going to be a challenge, but there's going to be one after the other, and it just keeps coming. And I think life is shaped that way to strengthen us. So Henry Rollins had an awesome quote, is, strength is a product of struggle. You must do what others don't so you can achieve what others won't. And it's something that, obstacles are there for a reason. And, it's, people will go, oh, poor me, why me? and it's telling you something. It's like, look into it. Is it something
Yeah.
that it's so yeah. I don't know where what I forgot what the question was, but yeah, I went into a tangent.
I also forgot, but I enjoyed the journey, so that's all right.
How, my question to you, Kyle, how about yourself? Because you've what I understand is you've done some personal training for a while, and then you've done your parkour, and now you're doing arboristing.
Yeah.
And share a bit about your story for my
All right.
listeners.
Yeah. Okay. um, well, I've always been really, really active as a kid. Like, nearly got diagnosed with ADD, that kind of stuff. Just had to keep moving.
Yeah.
And so I've always been running, jumping, climbing, doing, and a bit like yourself, like trying a whole bunch of different things. I think if you threw a sport out at me, I would at least have tried it once, just
Yeah.
to see. Um, but there's a few things that I really enjoyed and stuck with. Um, like I really like growing up. I really liked athletics and swimming, and I got qualified as a swimming teacher and taught that for a long time. And then went to Melbourne, got loved parkour, taught that for a long time. Um, and then yeah, got into the gym mainly because there's two reasons I got into the gym actually. Like one was I had an old childhood friend that I thought was pretty hot. And she said she liked muscly dudes, so I was like, I can be a muscly dude. Like, that was my main drive to go to the gym. The other was
Yeah.
at my school I went to. You had to do some form of sport, and basically it was a choice between footy and basketball. Neither of those took my interest, so I was like, "Can I just go to the gym and count that as my sport?" And
Yeah.
they were like, and they saw I was actually enjoying the gym and working hard, so I was like, "Yeah, fine, do that." So that was a good way to
Yeah.
get out of footy because I suck at ball sports. That's something I just can't do.
Yeah.
Yeah, um, yeah, just got really heavily into the gym and that kind of side of it, bodybuilding and just strength stuff. And
Nice.
I went through that progression that everyone goes through: the start bodybuilding or powerlifting, as you say, get bored
Hmm.
of it or injured, and then kind of find the little more niche things that you can sample and take.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Mm.
yeah. Went through
Awesome.
like found Ito was, as you said, did a couple of workshops with him and just kept on trying to find new things to keep my interest or see what I can pick up and learn from. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. He's definitely impacted a lot of people in thinking differently.
Yeah. Yeah. He was, it's really good that he's done so much for just physical activity in general. Like people just getting out and just moving, even if it's not super serious. They're just, his like squat challenge and hang challenge was such an
Yeah.
accessible way in for movement that I think that got a lot of traction with just non-movers, like just the general public that are like, yeah, maybe I should learn how to just be comfortable in a squat, and
Yeah.
I think that's helped so many people. But yeah,
Yeah. I think it's a saving grace for a lot of people's knee, lower back, hip,
yeah,
ankle,
yeah,
shoulder injuries and chronic pain issues.
yeah. Because
Yeah.
yeah, those two movements, if you actually do get comfortable in those, especially in our industries, like the building industry and the art industry, those two
Yeah.
movements, they're amazing. Like
Yeah.
you can do so much good with getting comfortable in there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so like you got to go back to our roots as well, like where it came
Mm.
from, and sort of, the squat was the shitting position, the
Yeah.
squat was the resting position. And so and I love it because whenever I fly out to Asian countries, say Vietnam, Philippines. Oh, actually, Philippines don't do as much. My dad still does. When he's
Yeah.
changing the tire, he'll get into a
Yeah.
squat and he'll sort of, and I think that's sort of, we need to get back to the roots and how the body
Yeah.
sort of needs it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We were in Vietnam a while ago, and I was just walking down the street, and everyone would be in just this picture perfect squat, and it was just like, whoa,
And it's the
so
norm.
jealous. Yeah, absolutely
Yeah.
not. It's just like that is their
The-
rest.
I love it because I I I want to be different from everyone else. I try not to,
Mm.
I go against the grain. So,
Yeah.
I'd be at a party or we'd be at a workshop, and then either myself or my partner would go into a squat, and everyone's sort of standing, and they straight away, as soon as you go into a squat, they just turn their head and they look at you weird, and they're just
Yeah.
like, and they're
Yeah.
probably thinking, I wish I could do that.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
yeah,
That's good.
yeah. So it's coming
Like,
back.
I like the, like the hey, where, oh, all right, there you are. Do you want a
We
beer?
should. Yeah. Yeah. So
Yeah.
I think that's a critical thing for people to work on. So,
Yeah.
work on whatever it is that you're passionate about, whether it's building muscle or strength training,
Mm.
but still bring in what they call, say, the micronutrients of movement. And so you've got the macro is like, say, running, swimming,
Mm.
jumping, but then the micro movements, sort of like the minerals and essential sort of, parts of, we talk about food, but that's sort of like your movement diet. And so
Yeah. Same thing,
ground
really.
movement,
It's
yeah, yeah,
yeah,
bring all that kind of stuff back in. Yeah.
yeah. Ground movement is something nowadays is completely overlooked and
Yeah.
so vital, so vital.
Mm. It's, well, you feel, even look at like a baby that's progressing into, being on flat ground,
Mm.
say on the floor.
Yeah.
It's building its whole body through rolling, through
Yeah.
fidgeting, through, being able to move, and eventually it starts to, go on all fours, and then by that time it starts to build that strong structure. Where a lot of the times in the West, we try to speed up the process of walking,
Yeah.
and it sort of undermines a lot of the development process of actually
Yeah.
building a really solid foundation before they start to climb their mum's leg, before they start to grip and hold on, and eventually. So I think, we need to also put that back into our diet, our movement diet, and get a lot of the basic function.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a couple of people I follow. Uh, they're going right into, well, it's actually within the whole industry now, is going back into that,
Mm-hmm.
the locomotion, like how to get people moving like they did as a child in adult life, and figure out how to maximize it. Like there's David Weck is all about locomotion and trying to get into that lower lat and the coil. Like when we're crawling, we'll do like blizzard crawl. We'll close one side, open the other, and try to get all that. And trying to join the top and bottom sides, different legs, different arms, connect it all. Like it's all in there in just a crawl. And
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
we're missing a lot of that now. Like quadrupedal movement, the crawling movement was one of the main staples in parkour strength and conditioning, purely because it connected everything in your body, including like the different sides of your brain, because you've got to open one side, close the other, switch. You'll be balancing on opposites, and it just helps so much for strength and technique. And I think
Yeah.
once you get the movement pattern down, it's such a useful pattern just for general well-being, and especially in our industries, because it has such a universal kind of benefit. And
Yeah.
any of those, actually, that brings me on to a question. What movement patterns can you see that just have universal benefit? Like crawl, we've talked about the squat and the hang, they have universal benefit. Like, what do you think are some other pretty important fundamental patterns that people may be doing, or just may not know about even?
Yeah. So patterns, I mean, we did talk about the squat and the hang,
Yeah,
and like just really, really basic, I guess, movements like such as walking. We don't get enough walking
yeah,
in sort
yep,
of
very
every day.
true.
Like that's one thing. And then also being more sedentary and static from sitting in 90-degree angles to having, I guess, too much time in a chair. And I think
Yep,
that is what creates the sort of the dis-ease or the disease for our joints, for our whole entire system. That when we do go into walking, we're walking a different natural way than we would
yeah,
be naturally developed through being in nature or in an environment that's constantly dynamic. So life is dynamic; it's never static.
yeah,
And so when we become static, we start to create these issues of hips, knees, shoulder issues so it's more of move more of the body as opposed to just isolation. So
yeah,
squat's great, hanging's great, doing active, static, dynamic, spending more time on the floor, I think is a huge one, because it
yep,
allows you to build the structure, the strength, and mobilize the joints as you're spending time, whether you're eating with the family or yourself, or just on the computer, whatever it is. Like, we've just gone furniture free in our place where there's no furniture. We either
oh
stand,
yeah, oh
we either
nice.
squat, or we're just constant, because then you're not having to do a mobility practice that takes up an hour of your day. And so
Yeah,
a lot of us tend to compartmentalize, say, this here and this there, and we've only got 24 hours in a day, 8 hours of sleeping, hopefully for everyone. And
yeah,
then, and then by the time we get to the end of it, you got 8 hours of work. A lot of the times it's like 9 or 10. And
yep,
then you don't have that much time. And then now you're compartmentalizing, 1 hour of this, 1 hour of gym, 1 hour of this, 1 hour of that. And so if you can do, say, Netflix in the lounge room, on the floor, watching TV, as you're mobilizing the body, there's nutrients that you're getting throughout your day, as opposed to one supplementation of 1 hour exercise. And we've become
yeah,
that way where it's take a vitamin C supplement as opposed to just eating a couple of oranges or some
yep,
lemons
yep.
to get more than just the one vitamin. You're getting more
Getting
everything.
a meal.
And so,
Yeah,
yeah, exactly. And so that's something that people need to be aware of, and add more of that into the daily movement practice. And not to get rid of the furniture, I just say keep the chairs, but just bring
yeah.
it down to the ground, or cut the legs of the chairs, so then it creates a different sort of angle. And yeah, explore that.
Well, see where you can fit movement into just everyday working and play and life. Like,
Yeah.
try. I saw one of your videos a while ago where you were doing the duck walk on beams while you were, you know, building the house, doing the construction. And that's
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
a perfect example of fitting those movements into your working life. So that way you don't potentially need to do a mobility session when you get home. It's done. You've
I've
got
added
those
it.
nutrients.
Yeah.
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 100%. I remember your post that you mentioned, of learning some movement, sort of, I guess, exercise or vocabulary, so then you can add it to your training session,
Yeah.
or something, where I find if you can add that into your workspace, and people may judge, like, well, why are you doing that, or why are you doing this? But it's something that, if all you did was bend over the same pattern, whether you're laying some bricks or doing concrete, or when you're picking up timber, you lose. You're constantly getting into that pattern that you create that same stress over and over and over. But then if you learn how to lunge into it, squat into it, sidestep into it, you're now creating different loads. And then over time, it's really rounding out that area or how you move and how you think. And it becomes a natural pattern where you don't have to think. It becomes that saying of unconscious competence. You're competent and unconsciously doing it. And so that's what I've tried to integrate over the years. And sometimes there's consciousness. I have to think about, let's do more squatting today. So when I'm on the phone, I've got to send an email, or when I'm reading the plans, I'll just get into a collapsed squat, resting position. And I'll spend 20 minutes there, happy in a squat, just resting. And then I get up. Okay, now I've got to go over there. And so I'm breaking that up. And especially in my trade, there's a lot of things to hang from. So I break up the day with just hanging on some trusses or joists or, wall frames. And so I'm breaking that throughout the day. And I think if I can encourage people in the industry, in the building industry, to find this, there's so many things. It doesn't have to be somewhat of a gym equipment, because that's something that we look at that and we say, hey, that's yoga, or hey, that's a barbell, or hey, that's that. And we relate, I guess, an exercise to it. But then I can look at, say, like a door frame or a bit of timber, and I go, that's an abstract tool. I can balance on that, or that's something that I can play with that thing for maybe 2-3 minutes just to get myself engaged. Like, it's being able to bring that back in. It's almost being a child again. You look at it. I caught up with a friend last night. He brought his 3-year-old son, and we're at Grilled having some burgers, and there was just a stick that they used to, it's just it's a stick on the table that was there, and the child was just playing with it, and I was playing with him, rolling the stick, and then eventually found new ways to be able to, put it in his mouth, to whipping it around, to rolling it on the table. And we need to be engaged like that again. I think we just will go, that's that. Do I want to play with that? No, not really, because I think that's what it is. But until you actually get in there and get engaged, I think that's when you go, wow, there's more to it than I thought.
As you get older, you've already labeled and shut things into certain boxes where it's like, that's a kettlebell. I can only do X, Y, and Z with that kettlebell. If I deviate from that, it's going to be weird. And there's that thing where it's weird, so I won't do it. Fuck that.
Yeah, totally.
Weird is good. Weird's different. Weird's where the growth is.
Unique, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Yeah, and I definitely agree. There's a lot of things that we can just slip into our everyday life. Like, if I'm picking up, I noticed a while ago I was raking. Like, we have to rake up the leaves or rake up the debris after a job. And I was always raking on the one side. And I was like, why am I doing that? So I just switch it up, try a bit of a lunge, a backwards lunge and rake. Just each time I'd go down, collect some brush, a squat or a lunge or a twist, or just try to make it a little bit different every day. So as you say, you round out your skills, you round out that kind of your movement, and you build a wider, more solid foundation. I think that's one thing that both of our industries and people in general really can benefit from just slipping in these slightly different ways of doing things. Yeah. Love it.
You're such a movement guy. I do the exact same thing. Like, it's But I think that it's right. It's great we're having this conversation, because this is definitely, we're not people in the industry, or I guess in the field where they're not looking at these things. They're looking at more of, I've done some damage, I'll go see a professional, a myotherapist, a physiotherapist. You get your treatment done, but then you go back into the same postures and positions and the same movement diet
programming,
you're on, which is so it's like the environment or the way you move hasn't changed. You've required someone else to fix a certain issue, but then the chronic pain comes back again, or acute, whatever it is, an injury, and then you're left in the lurch, and you constantly, and this is where people get caught up with spending all this money, then they rather not go see the professional to get fixed. They rather just keep going with the pain, and then it becomes more severe later on.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So I think it's, not that we need to be I believe we need to build ourselves first and foremost. And then that becomes of understanding. You don't have to be I love what Tony Robbins talks about. It's like, you don't have to learn the roots. You can also just pick from the tree and eat the fruit. So you don't have to go into specifics or read books and be that specialist, but enough to start to get the ball rolling. And I think that what you're doing, what I'm doing, I think this is where, and there's so many other people trying to get this in place as well, is get people to move more, move better, and understand the relationship that we have, as opposed to, we have to fit into this box, or we're doing it for, maybe aesthetic reasons, but not necessarily reasons that's going to benefit us in the long run, like longevity wise. I think that, we're still in the early stages of where training is and how hard we're pushing ourselves, but then we're not understanding the long-term effects that it could be doing. So, I like to look at people who are 60 and are still training, or 70 who are still training, as opposed to 30-year-olds or 40-year-olds telling you how you should, or 20-year-olds how you should train. It's like, hang on, where is this going to take us when we're 60 and 70? Because I still want to be able to run and walk and still have fun and play. And so is strength training going to get me there to that point? And my honest opinion, I don't think so, because if you overdo it, especially when you're young and you sort of want it all, you either burn out too quickly, or your body just can't keep up with the demand. And I don't think we're meant to, like, I get in the building industry, I see a lot of people who lift a lot of weight, like they're jacked, like bodybuilders, powerlifters. They, and I look at them and I compare myself, and I just go, I used to be like you. I used to come to work really stiff, exhausted. Oh, last night was leg day, so they're sort of like walking on, tippy toes, and they say, oh, can you give me a hand over here? And for me, I'm like, I'm running laps around them. I'm like, what are you doing? I'm running laps just because my training's just allowed me to be, we always keep going back to Ito, but creating bamboo legs as opposed to, tree trunk legs. Like, everyone wants the big, thick, like, legs just for, that Ferrari look, but it's got no power behind it. Or it has power, but doesn't have the dynamic power to be work fit, as opposed to gym fit. Like, gym fit, you look good in the gym, but then when you go out in the field or out in the job site, it's like you're slow, you're taking your time. It's, it doesn't work for me, especially running a business. If you guys are slow and they're dragging their feet, it's like, dude, I got to let you go, because, and it's not, So I think that's something to think about as well. So,
I was thinking a while ago about, different properties of, as you said, the bamboo legs and trees. And I was thinking, if you can make a body with a hybridization of bamboo and oak, you're set. Like, you can somehow figure that combination out. You are done. You are it.
Yes. Well, that's why I'm really sort of I'm going from like the MoveNat stuff to the Ito stuff, and then now into the Fighting Monkey. I really, really like the Fighting Monkey sort of principles and philosophies, and sort of the concepts and the abstract tools that they use. So they'll use a ball and a string, and then you'll partner up and you'll start to play with the ball, and your body will move in certain different directions, and you're sort of like engaged, and you're sort of like this cat that's just trying to claw out the ball. And it's sort of and it's like we need to bring that back in. And it might not be like an exercise where you're doing repetitive reps and sort of, for a certain look, but it's actually, there's so much missing that we're not getting, that's in that sort of game that we're playing. But it's sort of, and I think that's where I'm looking at, going back to the oak tree and the bamboo, is they're allowing that. So they've got like this pentagon philosophy of, creating the foundation starts with coordination, being able to coordinate the body, and then being able to create rhythm, and then being able to create kinetic potential. And then by the time you get around to the fifth one, it's strength, right? Then you build the strength through all that. And so that allows the body to connect as one whole system, right? Because we think it's all individual. And then the strength, and then you build the strength from there. So where a lot of, I guess, the way the athletes are sort of put into sort of like strength and conditioning to strengthen up the body, the joints and whatnot, but then they're losing a lot of the coordination, the rhythm, and the kinetic potential and power, that they've bypassed that. And so I'm looking as, if we're going to, constantly evolve ourselves mentally, physically, emotionally, you've really got to connect the whole system, be able to coordinate the organism, the human body, and then be able to build its way through to strength. But if you bypass all that and you go straight to strength, you're missing out all these things that's really going to engage the mind, body, and emotion. And I think that's where they're really doing some great stuff in the industry and exploring that.
Well, a lot of traditional stuff nowadays is, you're working the musculoskeletal system, but the nervous system is completely left out of the lurch.
Yeah.
And nervous system is what controls the muscular system. So, as you say, if you can build a coordination and rhythm and all of that kind of stuff, work on the nervous system, it's no choice, but it's going to benefit the muscular, because that is the control system. Yeah. Now, that's a good way of doing it. It's a good way of doing it. I remember we tried some fighting monkey last time I came up and met you. Bloody hard.
It puts us all to shame. I tell you what, it puts us all to shame.
Yeah.
And it's like, I tried to not give you all the answers, which what they do is allow the individual to work it out themselves rather than being spoon-fed. It's like you see the patterns. So they bring it back down to sort of like a child or a baby. When they're the first 7 years, they're really absorbing the environment. So there's a thing that some people are adopting, is the unschooling. So within the first 7 years of a child, there's no education. There's no sort of do this, read that. It's sort of, they're just absorbing from the environment. And then they get to learn exponentially, as opposed to following a certain system. And so the fighting monkey practice is similar to that, where they'll allow an athlete or a human to look at these patterns, right? So you're working on these patterns, and then how do you coordinate your body, and how do you understand, how do you learn from just watching and then applying? And it's not necessary, because I used to think that, I used to get super frustrated. I'm like, okay, so how is it that I get that same pattern that you're doing? And they'd say, it's not about imitating. It's about finding your own path to get into that pattern. And so eventually you'll keep working at it, but when you get it, there'll be another pattern to learn, and something new will unfold for you. So you have these stresses of going, you're looking around and you're thinking, am I dumb? Do I not know what I'm doing? Like, what is going on? And then some people are progressing faster, some people are regressing. Yeah. But then what I realized was, like, if I do the hands and legs and I'm moving around, that's just too much information. And then they've got sort of some music in the background, so they've got a certain beat. So I'm sort of listening to the beat, and I'm just working my feet. So it reminded me of when I used to do martial arts, when I used to do Wing Chun. A lot of it was footwork, working on different angles, as opposed to, all the fancy like moves like that, kind of getting your arms out in the air. It was just groundwork, footwork. So I went back down to basics of, okay, what's the footwork? And so then progress into the arm swing, then progress. And so eventually, when I did get the movement or the pattern to the beat, I was high on life, Kyle. I was just like, dude, I haven't felt this way from, when back in the day when I was skateboarding and I learned the kickflip. When you learn the kickflip, you're like, oh my God. It's just like, it's just one of those moments. And then for me, it's like, I need more of this in my life. I need more
special about learning a new skill. Like, and that is a skill. Like, I tried doing some of those things. I was like, this is beyond me. But like that, there is that feeling when you do get that thing that's just too hard, and you, as you said, you break it down, you take a little bit of chunks, take it in chunks, and get that chunk, build, 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 and then suddenly, oh yeah, there it is. Like
Yeah.
we're we're
Yeah.
doing some stuff with uh Chris Chamberlain, I think it is, or Chris Sutherland. I don't know.
Yeah.
Is we're doing rope flows, so just building patterns with a rope, not a skipping rope like I'm using, my climbing rope.
Yeah.
Just trying to build certain patterns and trying to just build and link. So you can eventually just walk, flow, do all these little patterns and connect the dots, and so good. It's one of those. It's one of the first ones. One of the first things I've enjoyed learning for a while in a while now. Like, because you're probably the same. Like, you get all this, you get a foundation of all these skills, and then you kind of hit a wall where it's like, yeah, all right, I've got this skill.
Yeah.
I can either continue pursuing this, or I can delve into something else. Or you hit a wall and you're just like, all right, this is as far as I want to go with this. And then something else pops up. So like, this rope flow has popped up, and I'm like, all right, this is something I want to keep on pushing with.
Yeah.
And yeah, more of those kind of, obviously fighting monkey for you is one of those things where you find it and like, there's more here.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which is amazing. Like I've seen some of your rope flows. I'm like, oh wow, that's interesting. And you'll have to show me one day when we catch up next. But
yeah,
it's sort of like, you know, you're like learning the new skill and being able to apply that. But I'm referring back to martial arts. Say for example, you know, learning a martial arts skill set or a discipline. Say whether it's jujitsu, whether it's kung fu or karate. You get to a certain point and you learn that, and then you sort of like, what's next, or you keep going deeper and deeper and deeper.
Yeah.
And so for me, I'm sort of done the Bruce Lee approach of, you know, the MMA sort of pick and choose, spend some time in there. I can go a little bit further, but then I don't want to. There's just so much to enjoy, and I just want
so much.
Oh, it's just, and I think when you get to this point where you've tried and tested a lot of things, and you go, I want to just keep my body, my brain, my sort of emotion intact for the long run. So the whole regeneration, the whole longevity side of my health and my future. And who knows, you never guaranteed today or tomorrow, but where I want to take it is, you know, still have a body that can do a lot of things. It doesn't have to be the best of the best, but more of, you know, I can still play with my kids when I'm, you know, 40, and still you know, still play at the park, still climb trees and do all that type of stuff, because that stuff is what gives me life as well. Being able to experience it as opposed to just watching it from a lens. People live life through a lens rather than sort of, you know, be in the experience moment to moment. And I think the more we can start to get engaged with a lot of different sort of practices and disciplines and systems, and it's not to say that is the answer, because I think a lot of people think that's the conclusion to life, or to how they see it. Yeah. And I don't think it is, because, you know, they're only looking from one angle, and I love looking at it from different perspectives and different ways, so then you can, you know, see it in a different one. I think that's why the fighting monkey for me, it's not such a discipline where it's like a martial art or yoga or anything like that. It's actually it's a tool that you use. Like, they can play different tools, different games, and it allows you to be creative, be curious, and really explore areas that you would have never gone before, and how far you can take it. And it's going to the boundaries of exploring, not tipping yourself over, and not stepping too far away, because the growth happens when you step in the arena, in the ring, and you're close to, that's where sort of the development happens. And a lot of people are stepping outside the ring, that they're not being engaged, and they're sort of criticizing, and it's sort of like, let's start to bring that back into our daily life. And
there's a thing in, I think I like that analogy of that skill ring. Like there's the boundary where you do hit the edge and you've got to just work that edge. And as soon as you fall off it, you have to come back in, or you end up just, if you fall off enough times, you're not going to come back in and work that edge.
Yes.
Like and I think in today's society, it's that thing of looking weird or looking stupid, that we're not afforded the kind of benefit of the doubt to actually just play, to be at that edge, because at your edge, you're always going to fall. You have to fall, because otherwise you don't know where the edge is. But
yes.
I think a lot of people, as we get older as well, like our age, we're kind of scared of other people's opinions, of looking at us playing with that edge, even if it's a really average skill.
Yeah.
Even with, as you said, walking, you can play with that edge. And like if you're playing with the edge of walking, no doubt you're going to look like a weirdo, but it's still fun.
Yes. Well, going back to the walking thing, right? Every now and then I'll see an old Asian lady walking backwards. How often do we walk backwards? And I practice it, you know what I mean? Like it's sort of just you probably do this in parkour, where it's, rolling backwards, you learn how to roll forwards. Kind of thing, where, we're no longer doing that. And sort of like when we fall backwards, we get scared. And then we, or sort of, and that's where injury happens, when we lock up the system because we're unaware of the spatial awareness that's happening. So say, for example, in, you did parkour, so it's moving the body through obstacles. I did skateboarding, which is on wheels on a board.
Yeah.
So, but then I learned patterns, how to collapse the body when I'm hitting concrete. Same thing with you. If you don't learn these, and no one actually taught in skateboarding, there's this whole thing where you learn for yourself, and by watching, it's not something that
really?
you get. Yeah, you don't. No one sits you down and go, okay, John, here's how you stand on the board. Here's how you pop an ollie, and you got to do this. And where parkour, like you can get training, coaching on developing skills. Skateboarding is more of a kinesthetic sort of observation. So you sort of jump on the board. You feel it, you push, and then it's just reps, and then you constantly begin. I wouldn't say reps. It's not like because reps you sort of count and you get in that form. Yeah. It's more of you're building this connection with the board, and you're one with the board, and then eventually you're able to learn some more. Learn moves or tricks or skills. Yeah, patterns, and then you start to, and it doesn't happen overnight. So a lot of people see the highlight reel of skateboarding or whatever it is, Instagram, and they see all the flips, the tricks being made, but they're not seeing the edited version, which is the stacks and the bails and the injuries and all these other things. Like to learn an ollie, you're going to stack probably 1,000 times before you actually pop one. And you go, did you see that? Did you see that? I was like this high and it just came off the ground. You're like, but it takes time to develop that. And I think that's where, skateboard's a great example. So skateboard's very fashionable, right? You look at a skateboarder with a skateboard, he's cool. But then if it was a different sort of abstract tool, whether it was like a skateboard cut in half or something like that, and you see someone using that and you go, why are you using that? It's just weird. It won't get that much traction, but now you've got a lot of the progression, the evolution of skateboarding, that now it's sort of like this cool sort of fashionable, that people want to ride more of it, and that's more acceptable. Where if you have someone that's maybe standing on, have you seen those balance boards where they've got like just a flat board and then someone balancing and there might be juggling at the same time? Like, dude, that's so much to take in. But I'd love to learn that.
Yeah.
Where do I start? Where do I start? How do I do this? You know what I mean? And you can just go to Bunnings and grab the the timber and the pipe and just play with it. It doesn't need to be a skateboard, or it doesn't need to be something that you don't. I think that there's so much investment, as in money investment as well, that we're looking at like, oh, that's so expensive. Well, that's that. I can't do that. And it's like, hang on, you don't need a lot to actually start the ball rolling.
The only requirement you need is a skill that you have interest in, and time and curiosity, I guess.
Yeah.
And now you go. Sorry.
I was going to add, as well as, you know, if you can find people or start a community where they're intrigued or curious about it, or even jump into a workshop, because that's the best way. You know, you invest maybe $150, you know, whatever it is for a workshop, which I'm sure we're going to run one together. I've just got playing that seed in my head.
Yes.
That it allows people to just I guess connect with other people and go, hey, we're not alone. You know, it's not something that we have to always do ourselves. And I think that's
if you're doing weird shit in a group, it's less weird.
Exactly right. If we're all squatting, you know, people might actually squat because that becomes the new norm. And I think the more we sort of bring this to light, start unpacking and getting people to explore it, I think it's just going to benefit everyone. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
No, that'd be good.
So, yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. I'm going to throw a question at you.
All right.
So my concept of my podcast, podcasts and sort of what I'm trying to bring in is a concept called building better builders, right?
Yeah.
So I find that we're all somewhat builders. So you don't necessarily have to be building a house. You can be building a life, your health, fitness, whatever it is. And so for yourself, what are you building currently and into the future? Where is it taking you on your journey?
Oh, I've got so many paths open in my head that I'm just like, physically, I would like to basically keep on going with what I've been doing. I want to find another actual discipline, or another, I don't want to say sport, but some kind of movement practice that I want to actually delve into, because I've got the foundations of strength and mobility kind of basically on lock now. So working more of that gets boring. I want I want that challenge where there is, as you say, there's a skill that needs to be gotten. And by getting that skill, I'll be working my physicality anyway. Climbing is probably a good option for that. So that's something I want to get in. Climbing and slacklining, highlining physically is where I want to go with that. Building, in terms of this ArbFit, I want to be able to help people build that foundation, build what I consider to be what I have on lock, a mobile and strong body that is just there now and can just be called on to do other stuff. I think that's a really important foundation to have, and will benefit everything in life that we do. Like, we're living in this body, we may as well kind of get it to a state where it's comfortable and strong and capable and able to do what we would like it to do.
Yeah.
Or need it to do in some instances. But yeah, I want to help, not necessarily just ARB people, but this is my industry, and I know I've seen a fair few people in that have suffered injuries and time out just because the foundation isn't necessarily there, and it could be. It could be there just with a bit of curiosity, a bit of time, a bit of effort, investment, and yeah. I'd like to be able to supply programs, little packages of here's some things that I really enjoy. I'm putting together a backpack program, which is like just stuff, things that I find useful currently and in the past I have found useful for making my back stronger and more comfortable. Because back injuries, lower back specifically, is kind of a sore spot in and I'd like to be able to put together little packages like that where once it's done, and I know people can find it. If it's going to benefit them, they can buy it, use it, and that will be a little chunk of what they might need to feel better and feel stronger in their day-to-day life. Maybe they just need back stuff. Maybe they just need the backpack. Maybe they just need wrists at this current moment in time. But I'm hoping that these little packs will spark a bit of curiosity mostly, and a bit of time for themselves to actually invest in themselves and be like, all right, I did X. My wrist is hurting now. If I get this pack, I'll try it. Just try it and see what I can get from it. And ideally they'll get something from it. And I'm hoping that little moment of, all right, this works, will kind of cascade and kind of let them dive deeper. It's those little things that once something works and once you notice the difference in, you actually feel good, you feel stronger, you feel better for doing X, Y, or Z, for making those little choices, it can cascade and it just keeps on going. And yeah, that's what I'm hoping to kind of provide for people.
Amazing. Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, I'll trying to find time at the moment to do all that, and also building, trying to set up my own tree business with kind of more permaculture principles at heart, like trying to get back to letting nature do a lot of the work, providing the tree with as much of what it needs to do the work itself. Just general specialist pruning and good quality tree work, really. But yeah, I like climbing trees, and I like pruning. I like pruning trees mostly. Removals are fun, but I would rather keep a tree in the landscape than remove it. So I also want to get into habitat creation, and try to give that tree a second life for the ecosystem and the environment around them. That's the kind of direction I want to be heading with tree work, is management and trying to do good quality pruning and improve plant and ecological and soil health while I'm doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. That's powerful, man, and it's admirable as well, because you're you're in an industry, and this is for everyone as well, that's in a specialized industry or building, is we look at just the way it's been domesticated, so the way it's always been done, and we're not thinking outside the box, and we're not adding different philosophies and systems to actually complement it and work with the landscape and nature itself. So while you explain all those things, I was thinking the building industry where we're not working with the land, we just flatten out the land, and then we build concrete foundations that suffocate the earth rather than hug it, and then we're just building in mass scale, and to a certain point where we don't know where any of the materials come from, we don't know how toxic they are, and we're spending a lot of money on these big houses that we don't need a lot of them. It's sort of like, just who has the time to clean, to do the lawn? Like, it's just ridiculous.
Spot cleaning.
Yeah, it's like, it sucks if all you do is just constantly clean. It's like, well, that's where all your time is. So then if you reduce a lot of the things that you're doing, so and think different, think sort of like sustainable, regenerative, right? So the permaculture principles are, what are you trying to sustain? Yeah, so I think what you're doing is amazing, and I think people like yourself and myself that are sort of poking and prodding and exploring these areas, people need to sort of like help support and also be part of that sort of practice and connection. And I can say
if there's anyone listening or watching that has information or skills that you think would be benefit to either of us, get in contact, because getting a community of like-minded people that can help each other out and kind of drive these kind of goals or visions a little bit quicker is perfect. Because I think this kind of thing is needed now more than ever as well. It's not just a fashion thing anymore. It's almost becoming necessity, where this change has to happen, really. We're not doing a good job of it at the moment. So
no, sorry, Bob. And my 2 cents to add in there is and I've always so there's charities, right? And so as there are charities that are doing great work, we can contribute by giving our hard-earned money to that sort of charity, and then they find technology, they help with the I guess the less fortunate. But then again, would you rather just donate money, or would you rather go over there and experience and then help build something for them? And so here we are, if climate change is happening and has been happening, and here people are, they are waiting for technology to save us, or they're waiting for, they're pumping money into ways to actually, regenerate the planet and bring it back to its original state. But I believe it's going to be more impactful for the individual, the community, and the whole collaboration of everyone putting in the time and effort and work, as opposed to, and it can work both ways, but I'd rather experience it and connect with others doing the change, as opposed to, here's my hard-earned money that I worked at a job that actually contributed to the climate change. And it's sort of like, I see that's a way of thinking that, I just think technology, it may save us, but it may not. Just don't wait for technology to get there. We've all got to start to do our part.
If there's something in your backyard that you can vote with your money with, or vote with your time with, and get it done, get yourself involved in it, perfect. That's the way we should be going. Yeah. And if there's businesses like those that are building with eco-friendly and with the environment and people's health, plant health, ecological health in mind, vote with your money to support those businesses, because they're obviously trying. They're doing what you would like to be done. So, yeah.
Totally, yeah. So voting with your dollars. Another powerful one is what people don't realize. Like, we have the food, like, buying food, factory farmed sort of, products and consuming, and this is where I guess a lot of the vegan community or the plant-based community will sort of point the finger and say, if you eat meat, you're a bad person and ethically just wrong. And I think what they're really pointing the finger is factory farming, which is actually contributing to a lot of the climate change, where this the proper, I guess, the practices that other farmers or permacultures are doing is the way it should be, but it's the better way to sort of.
I'm going to say should.
Yeah, should. Okay, I agree. and so that is part of the ecology, right? And so, another one is, we'll dive into another conversation about hunter and gathering and sort of eating the pests, because that's really what we would have been doing back in the day, not this whole agriculture sort of farming. And voting with your dollars. So voting where, if you're buying a house, finding out, if you're going to build brand new, do you really need it that big? Do you, where are your materials coming from? To your food, where's your food coming from? A lot of, when you go into the supermarket, you can have every fruit and veg, around the world. And, when it's not in season, so eat seasonally. If it's not in season, they import asparagus from Mexico. They import berries from Chile. They import, all these different, and I'm not saying you shouldn't, but it maybe rethink eating more seasonally and locally, supporting your local farmers, so it doesn't have to travel as far. So I think there's some basic things that people can apply that doesn't have to take a lot of their time and money.
Yeah, 100%. I've been trying to find more regenerative or a regenerative farmer around here to actually source food from.
Yeah.
I can't find them. Like, even though it is becoming more prevalent, it is becoming more available, but I wish there was like just a global database of, here is your nearest regenerative farmer. Go contact this guy.
Yeah.
There's a lot happening with it at the moment, which is fantastic. Like, even in Koroit, which is a 10-minute drive from where we are, there's a festival coming up it's called Regenerate Our Planet, which is, they've got talks from regenerative farming, what the inventor of permaculture. They've got eco kit homes coming, and a whole bunch of that kind of stuff, which should be really good. So that kind of awareness or that kind of consciousness is becoming more prevalent and available, which is awesome. It's fantastic to see. I'm hoping it just kind of picks up speed and spreads out and just becomes the norm.
Yeah. I think there's definitely a huge market for it. And people are starting to wake up and be a bit more conscious with voting with their dollars and different. I guess there's different ways that ways where it's more options. So say for example, you're going to go build a house and you go to one of the big builders. The options are concrete, slab, all these different materials. But then we think that that's the only option there is. And same with, like, say, the medical industry. So if you've got, some sort of cancer, it's chemotherapy. There's only one option. You've got to be able to expose the individual to, here's 10 options. Here's the least expensive. Here's the most expensive. Here's what works. Here's what doesn't work, or what has the best result for your situation. And I think if we can have, like, the festivals, like you were saying, where it allows you to look at different options, different materials, like people are using, say, hempcrete for like great insulation, all that type of like different type of cladding for the house. I think that's sort of coming in and sort of like I've got a friend that does super adobe sort of, these dome looking mud homes.
Yeah,
It's
nice.
unreal, so
Yeah.
unreal. And sort of like that's actually just using local ingredients to build your house. So it's actually the soil that your house is on, and that you just you repurposing, or not repurposing, but you're using local ingredients to build your house. Where I think it doesn't, giving people more options, just like with the
Yep.
movement, just like with the things we're doing in life. I think allows people to explore a bit more and be curious and find ways where it can help promote climate change. And
Yep.
it doesn't have to be so. I guess the more the more full on it becomes, the more people contract and they restrict because it's just too much information, or too much. It's too much for them. So I think,
and having those options, you can do what you were talking about before, like take things from different areas. If you've got options in all of these areas, you're like, oh, I really like the idea of building with earth, but I don't like the shape. Maybe there's X and Y that I can take that option, put it into here, and get something new, or get something that will fit.
Yeah. Totally agree. It's somewhat like we're just in a way we're regrounding humans, rewilding humans, or giving. Or you don't even have to go rewilding, right? You don't have to go out in nature and be like a hunter and gatherer. But it's like rewilding some of the, I guess, the ways we live in today's, I guess, domesticated society, and sort of, and bringing back some of these ancient principles and foundations. And so, what I like to talk about is, being able to build your own home. Imagine that. And then, but then you're looking at as the domesticated home, where it's, there's so many specialist trades, from a concreter to a bricklayer to a painter to a carpenter to a builder. It's just too much, right? So for an individual to go, I've got to build my own home, got to go through town planning, council, building permits. It's just never ending. And so it's too exhausting. No one's going to build their own home, right?
It's too exhausting even to just think about it.
There's a lot involved. And so, if, and that's why I really love the tiny home movement, because you build your house on a trailer, right?
Yeah.
And on wheels. So it's a tiny home on wheels. I like the concept from the guys from Tiny House Australia. Is a caravan is like a microwave meal, and a tiny home is a home cooked meal, where it's like you appreciate it. It's got all the good qualities, and sort of, and that's the joy of it as well. Like you're actually building your own home.
Yeah.
And you get to work with the materials, the products, and you can get them all secondhand if you wanted to. But it takes one truck of materials to build a tiny home, and it takes 6 trucks of materials to build your standard home. And so you look at the, how much is going into the building, and also the, I guess, walking away and going, I built that. Like that's something money can't buy, that experience. And I think, tiny homes may not be for you, that's fine. But being part of, I guess that, I'm pretty keen as well. Like I'm sold. I see myself working with some guys in the industry, and getting some trailers welded up. And I want a bit of land where I have this barn where I can just build tiny homes, and run workshops as well, and show people like, dude, it's not that hard. It's come in, we'll work on someone's tiny home, and you might be the next one in line to, where people can collaborate as a community and build this. And I think
that'd be sick.
That'd be so good. And, in the building industry, it's like, there's too much perfection. Everything has to be like perfectly level and perfectly straight and plumb, and it kind of does my head in, because here we are trying to perfect every right angle and whatnot, and sometimes, like, when you see like a knot in a timber, you go, oh, that's ugly, let's put that to the side, let's get that smooth finish. But it's all about character. It brings character, it brings life into the home. And I think, those are the things we need more of, and less perfection. and more
Yeah.
sort of, the
More
creativity
nuance.
side. So 100%. Yeah,
Mm.
definitely. Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Yeah. Me and you have big visions and dreams, and I think that
Yeah.
talking about it is planting seeds, and I think
Yep.
we're eventually gonna get there.
Yeah. Should be good.
I'm pretty excited. Pretty excited. Yeah, and can I add one more to
Yeah, man.
that one?
Yeah.
Okay, so how are we doing for time? 8:30. You're up for time? Okay,
Yeah, I'm fine.
so
I've got breakfast at like 9:30. Should be sweet.
okay, cool. We'll give it another, say, 5-10 minutes, and
We got plenty.
okay. So we've got on the note of why I believe people are sort of struggling with some of the concepts and how to apply this into their daily life is we've also got to talk about finances, right? So a lot of people
100%.
to go from building your own home, you've got a full-time job, you've got a family, and you've got bills and expenses to pay. So that becomes a burden, and you go, okay, so yeah, that's great, Mark and Carl, and you've got some big dreams and all these things, but it doesn't work for me, right? And I think the whole sort of way to sort of get out of that sort of rat race trap, and this is the way I'm looking at it, and it could be different for everyone else, is the whole minimalism approach. So the less you have, the more you have. So what we were talking before about doing more ground movements and sitting on the ground and being low to the ground, you don't necessarily need a lot of furniture. Furniture can be really expensive, right? And then the other thing is, how big is your house? Do you really need a big house? And you can downsize and find ways to minimize expenses. And then also, what's more important, actually, having all this or having money where you're spending it on things that constantly just deplete, I guess, the way your body really needs more of. Like it's more of you're spending, I guess fashion's a big one, because we want to keep updated with the latest equipment, the latest car, the latest sort of fashionable clothing, that I think that it might be financially better to find ways where you can be creative with some of your clothing, or even go to your op shops, your savers, and sort of a lot of it is just getting rid of the whole stigma with trying to keep up with the Joneses, trying to have the latest gadgets and upgrade the iPhones and all that kind of stuff, and just be like, hang on, you really just need yourself, your family, your community, some good nutrition, your health. And if you can get the basics down, then you stop pursuing a lot of the things that we think materialistic or ornaments that we think makes us. And so when you come to that reality, you start to unpack, and you start to let go and eliminate a lot of things that end up bogging us down. So, living in a smaller space, learning to collaborate with other people. And I think, adding more of this into your daily life will allow the expenses to decrease and allow you to maybe explore different ways of living, and I guess applying some of these things into your life.
Yeah.
Minimalism. Yeah.
I definitely agree with that. Like, I also think though it's important to really get clear on what it is that's important to you. Like, for me, I love music. Like, these headphones, like, it's a bit of kit that I am more than willing to spend more on if I only have to spend it once.
Yes.
And or a couch. If you've got a good couch or whatever, if you spend that money once, it's done, and then you don't have to do it again. And it's about finding what the modern world offers, and downsizing what you actually need, and getting the best of what you actually need, not having a whole bunch of shit that you probably don't really need.
Yes.
Yeah. Actually,
Yeah.
I've been watching a lot of the living big in tiny homes or living big in tiny houses on YouTube
Right.
and
Yeah.
like
Yep.
loving it. I love the concept of, I think I love the concept of having multifunctional spaces. Like, even the simplest thing that everyone does in those tiny houses is put closets and storage under stairs. It's just putting a secondary use or a secondary
Yeah.
purpose to another standard thing that's already going to have to be there. I think that concept applies to our movement stuff as well. Like, as we were already talking about doing the duck walk, so when you're already going to have to move from A to B, you may as well put that secondary movement nutrition in that space.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I love that idea of the tiny houses. And even if you don't have an actual tiny house, even if it's a small house or a medium house, you can still take those ideas and those principles and take, oh yeah, I like that. I'll put that in my house. And just by doing that, maybe your house comes down a bit because you've got what you need and you've got what you like, that the rest becomes superfluous. It's not necessary anymore. And you can downsize because your needs are still met, your desires are still met. Um, the rest is just fluff.
Totally. Yep. We just accumulate junk. We're
Yeah.
hoarders.
Yeah.
We're hoarders. I'll use that one day. 3 years later, it's still there. You haven't used it.
Yeah.
It's like, give it away, put it on a Gumtree, whatever it is, or just get rid of it. And just the whole minimalism, downsizing, and going back to your headphones. It's like, I wasn't definitely not saying that don't buy anything that gives you joy, because if that sparks joy in your life, go for it. But a lot of people tend to keep upgrading and keep getting the latest things and upgrade their cars. And I just think that, if you can spend time and money into things that you love, right, or things that will ground you more and find meaning, I think that's where it will allow people to really awaken their consciousness and get excited and find other avenues and ways. Yeah.
It's about that intention behind why are you buying what you're buying. Is it because it's shiny and new, or is it because it's actually beneficial for you and you get real value from it?
Yeah. And there's like, going back to skateboarding as well, like with a lot of the skateboards, they're made from, say, or some of the skateboards are made from Canadian maple trees. Sure. And so for a maple tree to get harvested, I think they've got a lifespan of like, a mature one's like 50 years and beyond, right? Like they're really mature trees, and it takes a very long time to mature them. And so what happens is, when they cut the maple trees, they replant it with different types of trees that isn't maple trees that have been there for 50 to 100 years. So now we've changed the landscape where, my next skateboard will be a bamboo skateboard, because bamboo is more regenerative and it's grass. And it actually allows more pop, so you can ollie higher, right? So for me, it's like, I still love skateboarding, I still enjoy it, and I jump from time to time. But it's finding different, I guess, products or different ways they've made, so it's more of a regenerative process. So
it's a smarter material to use.
Smarter products, smarter materials, and you can still do your skateboarding, you can still do your love or whatever it is, rock climbing, and find ways that you can help, I guess, contribute to a better cause. You know what I mean? Like
100%.
The overall picture. So I think in everything you can find ways. Yeah,
you don't necessarily have to deprive yourself of anything to better the rest.
No. Yeah, and it'll probably add more clarity to what you want to be doing in life, or where you want to sort of take it, because 100%. Then you're not so bogged down.
Nice. I will. Maybe we'll finish off with one random question, if that's good with you.
Yeah, let's fire away. Let's do it.
So, serious. Lord of the Rings or Star Wars?
Ooh, Lord of the Rings, hands down.
Nice, good. All right, cool.
Star Wars, I remember watching it as a kid, and it just didn't get me. I just got confused, and I was like, "What's going on?" But then Lord of the Rings, I watched that, in my teens, so it made more sense to me.
Yeah, they're both good. Don't get me wrong, they're both good.
Yeah.
I like Lord of the Rings. Yeah. Nice. Well, it's been
Awesome,
sick
brother.
chatting to you, mate.
Yeah, you too, Carl.
Yeah, we'll have to do it again because there's about like 10 questions that we didn't touch on from my end, so we'll see how we go.
I've got 20 questions on my board, and I'm just like, okay, which one am I fire out? I've probably gone through 3 of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll do it again and see how we go.
Definitely do it again. Looking forward to it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Let me know when the lead climbing course is, and we'll get together and get all up in it.
Okay, I'll be there tomorrow night, so then I'll ask, and I'll keep you posted.
Sick. All right,
awesome,
man.
Brother. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Yeah, you too.
Catch up.
Yeah.